Okay, I'm hoping you guys can hear me. If anyone has a YouTube chat or just any way of letting me know that the sound is working, just let me know and then I'll start up the video. Ooh, sound is working. Cool, I just got that. Thanks, guys. So I'll just turn on the video. Okay, cool, and we're live. So, seems like we've got, see how many people we have. Got 3 people watching, so maybe I'll just wait a little bit. I'll wait till like maybe 6:55 and then we'll start things off. If I ever just look off to my left like that, it's because I'm checking things like the chat and Facebook, just making sure it's everything's all running. Okay, we have 6 now, 7 just went back up. So I think I'll kick things off. All right. So in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. So today's lesson is stuck to the screen. It's a Christian perspective on a media-influenced world. So what am I going to be talking about? We have 4 things on today's agenda. The first thing is technology bad, in quotes? You'll see what I mean by that. We'll also talk about addiction to media and whether or not if it's really a problem. Is it okay for me to spend 10 hours on my phone a day just, texting and being busy scrolling through social media? Attention seeking done right. I'll go more in depth as what that means. And the last topic that I'll talk about today is cyberbullies and how we deal with them. So, is technology bad? So yep, there have been multiple studies. Oh, hang on, I'll just make sure. Okay, there have been multiple studies over the last decade about technology and the issues that it creates with today's generation. And I'm sure you all know that there have been arguments both for and against technology. Lots of researchers would be saying technology is great and we should embrace it, and a lot of researchers also say that technology is bad and that it's ruining this generation. So, what is the correct way to look at technology? Is it good or is it bad? And more specifically, what is the Christian perspective? Because that's what today's lesson is all about. It's all about the Christian perspective on technology and media. So before we can answer this particular question, is technology bad? We need to pause for a second and see, is that really the correct question to ask? The question shouldn't really be, is technology bad? We should be asking, is anything bad? Anything on this earth bad? So let's pause for a minute and just think about this. So who created media? Who created social media? Well, mankind created social media. Mankind created the internet. They created technology. But who created mankind? God did. So can God create anything bad? Is anything that God makes bad? Well, we can see a verse from Genesis about the creation. Creation says, "Then God saw everything that he made, and indeed it was very good." It wasn't just good, it was very good. This includes even the tree of life, the original sin that Adam and Eve started. The tree was not bad. Everything that God creates is good. And in fact, that verse up there was said on the seventh day after God had already created the tree of life. So everything that God made in the creation is good. Great. So we know that God makes everything good. But what about what mankind makes? Oh, I can see everyone in chat. Hi, everyone. Just tuned in. Thanks, Sarah. So yeah, is anything that mankind makes bad? God creates good things, but can man create bad things? Well, there's another verse here in Hebrews that says, "For every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God." Now, what does that verse mean? It means that everything, even anything made by man, is made by God. It's not just made by man. Now, if we go back to the previous slide, we just said everything that God makes is good. And if everything that's made by man is made by God, then clearly anything made by man is also good. So, to answer the question, is technology bad? The short answer, no, technology is not bad. Mankind created technology, but God created mankind, and everything that God creates is good. Technology is good. If we look at the tree of life, the tree was not bad. The badness came from the way Adam and Eve used the tree. And this is sort of what all the scientific studies are saying. Keep it down, sorry, I'm trying to listen. So all the scientific studies were saying that, some studies were saying that technology is bad. It's ruining our generation. And it's not necessarily the technology that's bad, it's how the generation of today uses the technology. So just like how Adam and Eve used the tree to gain the knowledge of all good and evil, that was the bad part of the tree. But there were good parts to the tree too. The tree, for example, can provide oxygen to Adam and Eve and all the living creatures around them. So similarly, technology is not bad. It's how we use the technology that makes it bad. Technology can offer many good things and many bad things. Media can have a lot of bad things on it, such as pornography, cyberbullying, addiction, fake personalities, and much more. Media can also be used in good ways, like teaching this lesson, and charity events, and just even social interaction with friends. So, is technology bad? I think we've answered that quite clearly. Technology is not bad. It's how we use the technology that makes it bad. So I'll move on to the next topic, which is addiction to media. Is it really a problem? Is it so bad if I spend lots of time on Instagram and social media? Is it that big a deal? Everyone does it? Well, this is a big topic. I can't just get into addiction to media. I feel like that should sort of be its own standalone lesson. It's quite a big topic to talk about. So I'm going to look at addiction to media from two perspectives. Again, what science says about it, and what Christianity says about it. So what does science say about addiction to media, and whether or not it's a problem? So Gina Hilliard from the Global Addiction Center said this: "Addictive social media use will look much like that of any other substance or disorder, including mood modification. For example, engagement in social media leads to a favorable change in emotional states. So, what does that mean in English? It means that social media platforms such as Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram produce the same neural reward that is caused by gambling and recreational drugs. It's just as bad as gambling and drug abuse. When someone gets a notification, like a like or a tag or a mention in their story, the brain receives a rush of dopamine. Now, I'm assuming a lot of you guys know what dopamine is, but for those that don't, dopamine is a sort of a drug that it's like a rush that gets sent to your brain that make you feel really happy and give you a sense of reward. It's what makes people addicted to gambling and things like that. Once they hit a high reward, they want to keep doing it and try and keep getting more reward. It creates an addiction. So, social media becomes problematic when someone views social networking sites as an important coping mechanism to relieve stress, loneliness, or depression. And going back to what I said about dopamine, for those people, social media provides continuous rewards that they are not receiving in real life and end up engaging in the activity more and more. So when someone in their life is lacking this sense of reward, this rush of dopamine in their life, be it they're lonely or they're just struggling to really know what their next step is in life, they're getting bored, especially with us all being cooped up inside all day. I can imagine that a lot of us do get quite bored and just rush to social media to get that rush of dopamine. So social media addiction mainly comes from having this lack of a reward feeling in your mind, and then you rush to social media and you start getting that and you keep doing that sort of as an escape. Science says media tends to be an escape and can be just as addictive as drugs and other substances. So that's what science says. What does the Bible say about addiction to social media? Well, I'm sure you guys will all recognize this verse. Do not love the world nor anything in it, for the world and its lustful desires will pass away. This is in 1 John chapter 2, verse 15, and it's read every time during the Mass after the Catholicon. It's the outro of the Catholicon. Another verse is, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love the other. So let's think about these two verses. What do they mean? The first one is quite simple. We shouldn't love anything in this world because it's temporary and it will pass away. All these likes you'll get, all these posts, these friends and followers that you're going to get on your social media, it's temporary. It's all temporary. So we shouldn't love it to that degree. When we become addicted to social media, we tend to prioritize it over a lot of other things in our life. Sometimes that can mean even God and the church. You might get friends on social media asking you to go out for events and stuff like that, and you push God away and say, oh, I won't go to youth meeting today. I won't go to Mass today. I've been invited to some party with my friends on social media. But that verse there says no one can serve two masters. Once media becomes your master, you become a slave to it. You become a slave to media. You become a servant to media. And we are not servants of media. We are servants of God. And we can't say that I am both a servant of media and technology and a servant of God. You can't be both. No one can serve two masters, for you will like media and push away God. That's what will end up happening. So these two verses are clear. We should be servants to God and not anything else in this world. We shouldn't be addicted to anything in this world because it's temporary, whereas God is eternal. So, long story short, don't be a slave to social media. Thank you for the chair compliment there, Michael. So, is addiction a problem? That's the first question that we asked. Is it okay for me to spend 10 hours a day on my phone? Addiction to media is a problem. Both science and the Bible mention that addiction to media, or anything for that matter, is problematic. And that's as far as I'm going to cover for addiction, just those two perspectives, what science says and what the Bible says. And it's clear, both say it's not good for you. Try and avoid becoming an addict to media. So I'm going to move on to the next topic, which might sound a bit weird. It's attention seeking done right. That will become a bit more, clear as I go on with that topic. So if someone claims, let me ask you guys, anyone watching, everyone watching, if someone claims to know who you are based on your Instagram stories and posts alone, would you say that they really know you? Let's say that they've never met you in real life. They've never spent a single minute with you in real life. They have just been on your social media pages, and that's all they know. So, is that person who you are online the same person that you are offline? I highly doubt most of you can answer yes to either of these. That's mainly because our profiles online aren't us. It's the perfect perspective of who we are. It's the polished, shiny gold version of us. The stuff that we want people to see. But that is quite an issue as well. Let's take a look at these two verses. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. And I hate the double-minded, but I love your law. When you sort of think about these two verses together, it's kind of clear that when we're posting all this perfect world of us online, we're kind of being two-faced. We're showing people, look how great I am, look how perfect I am, look at all these things I do right, and I'm flawless. And then outside, you might be someone else completely. In fact, it could be the other way around. You could pretend to be this really good person at church, and then someone views your Instagram stories and they see someone else completely, someone who you probably wouldn't even know is the same person you see at church. You become a double minded person when you sort of create this fake personality with the way you seek attention on social media. And that's what I'm trying to talk about. How do we seek attention correctly so that we're not two faced? So that we're not creating this false image of ourselves. Now, as humans, we naturally seek attention. It's normal for us to post on social media and seek attention. That's just who we are as a species. But there is a correct way to seek that attention and to get it. Whenever we post something, we shouldn't be giving attention to ourselves, but more of attention to the whole scene, what we are doing. When you're going to post a picture, don't just look at yourself. Look at the background. Look at what you're holding, your pose, your clothes. Look at the entire picture, not just yourself. So we are made in Christ's image, and so we need to be careful what we give attention to. And I feel like I've been talking a long time, so I am going to play a little game with you guys. Feel free to engage in the chat on YouTube. I see you guys engaging quite a bit. So here are two pictures. And let's say you're going to post one of these pictures. Which picture would you post? The one on the left or the one on the right? And I'm going to wait for your replies in the chat. There's a bit of a delay, unfortunately, so I will have to quietly ramble on or just sort of keep talking until I see some replies coming up in the chat. I hope everyone's enjoying their self-isolation. Not really self-isolation, but just staying at home with your family as much as you can. Don't go outside. wash your hands. You know the drill. Alright, so we got Charles saying left. Mary saying either. Okay. Interesting to see everyone's opinion. Both, probably doing both. Okay. Alright, I'm liking the the somewhat of a split in the chat. It's quite nice. Alright, so it seems some people are saying left, some people are saying either is okay. Now let's pause for a minute and think about what I said before about how we shouldn't just look at the picture or myself. Look at the whole entire picture, the background. What am I holding? What am I doing? What am I wearing? Okay. The picture on the left shows a barbecue, people eating, and people just having fun. That, it could just be you with some mates at a barbecue. Now, the picture on the right, similar environment. There was some friends having fun. In fact, you might even be wearing similar clothes, a white shirt with sunglasses. But if you look, they're holding some kind of drinks. Now, they could be juice, but let's say, for the sake of this example, it's an alcoholic drink. And if you also look around, they tend to be dancing and even if you're not drunk, even if you're not drinking alcohol, the image implies something. It's implying this idea of drinking and partying and having fun. And when you post something online, a lot of people are going to see it. People who you probably won't expect to see it. I scroll through my newsfeed on Facebook, and people who I barely even talk to will show up on my newsfeed, and I see what they post. So, people who you rarely think will see that stuff, will see that stuff. Now let's imagine you're someone like a Sunday school teacher, posting these images. Clearly, left would be the better option, because you wouldn't want someone in Sunday school looking at that right picture, and even if you're not drinking anything alcoholic, might get the wrong idea. And in fact, with teenagers, might even get inspired. They might think, wow, that looks really fun, I should go out drinking with my mates as well. So, here's another one. And just for the sake of time, maybe I'll just explain this one. I'm sure it's quite obvious what the answer is between the two. On the left, we have a picture of a guy vaping, and on the right, have a picture of a guy in a suit and sunglasses. Now, on the picture on the left, it might look quite nice, high quality, he's well dressed, and he's not dressed inappropriately or anything, but he's vaping, and like I said, anyone can see these pictures. Even your work boss, even Abuna, people around the church, anyone will see these pictures, and it might send the wrong message. So let's say I had these two pictures of myself. Yes, imagine that's me, my phone. I would look at that left picture and look at the whole picture and see, well, here I am vaping. Yeah, it's a cool photo, but I really shouldn't post that stuff. Whereas on the right, you see, okay, I'm well dressed, I guess, and nothing wrong with this picture. I can go ahead and post it. So what I'm trying to say here is this. Before you post anything, ask yourself the following. Is this who I am offline? Does this show something that could inspire others to do wrong? Does this offend anyone? And if I was to post this directly to God himself, if I was to take a picture of me vaping and send that to God, like direct message, and he opens up his phone, and this is what he sees, would God approve of it? If you pass all those checks, by all means post it. Especially that last one. Really think about that last one. So, attention seeking done right. Rough summary is this. Think before you post. And if there's one rule you want to take away from it, is if I'm going to send this to God, would he like it? Would he be okay with it? If you follow that rule, then you're doing the correct attention seeking. Because naturally, we need to seek attention. We're humans. It's normal. So, oh, you don't agree on something. Okay, Michael, I'm all ears. If you want to phone in via Messenger, you can as well. I can have everyone hear you as well. I will have my phone ready on standby if you do want to phone in. The offend part, someone will always be offended. Good point, I agree, and actually we're going to be getting to that a little bit with the cyberbullying, because usually when someone does get offended, they might retaliate and cyberbully. So I'll get a little bit into that, and if I don't fully answer that, please let me know, and I'll go back and we'll talk about it. But thank you for bringing that up. It's a good point. Someone usually, and more often than not, will be offended. That's just how it is on the internet. So, cyberbullying. Thank you for the helpful segue there, Michael. Um, cyberbullying, as we all know, is a very common issue with social media interaction. And it usually comes from someone being jealous or offended by what you posted. More often than not, it is jealousy. And once again, this is also a big topic, so keep things short and sweet. The main thing I want to talk about is how do we deal with these cyberbullies. When we get cyberbullied, what do we do? Once again, I'll give a scientific and a biblical perspective on things. So, scientific perspective, an article was written by Kimberly Hershenson, who's an American therapist. She wrote this article about the 5 golden rules when it comes to cyberbullying. And when I read them, I found them to be actually quite effective. They're really good, and I feel like it can actually help people quite a bit if they are being cyberbullied. The first rule is simple. Don't retaliate. Don't reply to the hate. Don't send a nasty response. Or as I like to say, don't feed the beast, because it will just make the situation worse. You'll just go back and forth with this constant arguing, and you'll find yourselves arguing about something completely different than what the argument originally was about. You could have been posting something about, cool, look at this nice shirt I bought, and someone might say, well, the red looks really faded, it doesn't look that good. And then you guys keep going back and forth, and all of a sudden you start talking about how this guy broke up with his girlfriend or whatever. Like, it'll just be a chain of events that are completely irrelevant to the original argument. So just don't retaliate. Second one is don't doubt your own beliefs. And this is going back to a little bit about what Michael said, is people are going to be offended. People are going to be offended no matter what. But it's normal for people to disagree with one another. Be open to other people's thoughts and opinions. Recognize that many people can be right. Let's say I posted a picture of me going out with a bunch of friends, and then a friend who maybe I haven't talked to in months comments and says, "Where was my invite? I thought we were friends." Now, my goal wasn't to target him. I didn't post that picture of my friends to make him jealous. That wasn't my goal. But he's gonna argue and say, I'm offended by this. Now, that's the whole being offended part. But when it comes to something like beliefs, let's say you were raising charity to stop abortions, and you get a post, and you post about like a sausage sizzle that you did to try and raise awareness about stopping abortion. And then someone posts saying, I'm all for it. That doesn't mean you guys should start a massive argument and complain. You should respect their beliefs and respect your beliefs. Maybe defend yours a little bit, but go back to that first point. Don't retaliate. In fact, if you have nothing nice to say, just say nothing at all. Respect other people's beliefs. people will be offended. People will argue. That's just the nature of the internet. It's how we should react to that. We should react in our own way, in the correct way. The third rule is don't take the rude comments personally. More often than not, the rude comments will have little to do with you, and more about the issues of the person writing them. So going back to that post that I said, I posted a picture of me and my friends, and someone, my old friend, said, "Where was my invite? I'm not your friend anymore." He's not necessarily going to be targeting you personally. It could just be that that guy is really lonely. He's maybe lacking some attention from friends. He's feeling, sad. And he's sort of just projecting that hate towards you. It's not that you were targeting him, or it's not that he was targeting you. He's sort of projecting his feelings. And a lot of the hate that you will get, or the bullying that you get on social media and just media in general, is usually this case. It's usually someone projecting how they feel in that moment and in their life in general. It's just a projection of their feeling. It's not an attack, even though it might seem that way. The fourth rule is an interesting one. It's just don't read the comments. Don't read the rude comments. Especially if you start seeing a repetitive nature of someone keeps posting these rude comments, or a group keeps posting these rude comments, the more you read them, the more it starts to get buried into your mind, and it starts to become an obsession. You get a notification about this particular person who keeps posting rude things about you, and you will, instead of saying, "I don't want to see it," what ends up happening is you say, "Oh, what else did he say? What else did he do? What else did he say about me?" You start to become obsessed with hearing rude comments, which can really mentally affect you, and it's not good in any way. If you start seeing repetitive hate comments, just follow the simple rule: out of sight, out of mind. And if it really does not stop, then report it. Report it to someone. Let someone know. Let someone help. Strength in numbers. It can really help. I think there's probably more positivity than negativity, especially when you're posting on social media to your friends. You will have friends to back you up. But don't let yourself read those comments, become obsessed with them, and get angrier and do nothing about it. Either don't read them at all or report them. And the fifth rule, which I think is the rule of thumb, and it's always a great rule to follow. In fact, I've started doing this quite a bit. After you've written something on your phone, before you hit post, before you hit send, just step away from the computer or the phone for 30 seconds. Put the phone down. Everything's still written. You haven't clicked send. Put the phone down. Count to 30, and when you come back, look at the message. Read the post, check the picture, and ask yourself, if someone else was to see this, if this is a stranger looking at this message, how would they feel? So you pick it up after 30 seconds and read it as if you are someone else completely. And are you heavily offended by it? In fact, do you think most people would be offended by it? If so, something needs to change. Or just don't post at all. Sometimes cyberbullying happens because we're just too fast. We're in a really fast world now where everything is just a few clicks away. I could write something, hit send, and then 30 seconds later regret what I just sent. How many times have you done that when you're instant messaging someone, you hit send, and you're like, I shouldn't have said that. Too late. You've sent that send button, you can't delete it. It's always good to follow that 30-second rule. It gives you that moment to think, should I send that? Is it okay? And it's a really good rule of thumb to do. Follow that, and you'll be getting less cyberbullying because you're trying to make things, you're thinking before you speak. You're not allowing the cyberbullies to find something to bully you about. So those were the 5 golden rules, and that was the scientific perspective. The Christian perspective on cyberbullying is easy. Be like Jesus. That's our Christian perspective on a lot of things. But what do I mean by that? Jesus was bullied and hated a lot. He's human, just like us, and he was emotionally hurt by the bullying, just like we would be. He's not immune to the bullying, he's human. Jesus felt sad when he was bullied, just like we would feel sad. But because Jesus is a human, and he felt all those emotions, we know we can also be like Jesus, because he's human. Jesus never showed any signs of hate. He never retaliated. Instead, Jesus prayed for those who were bullying him. Even when he's carrying his cross, bleeding from the crown of thorns, and he was whipped multiple times by the guards, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." For they do not know what they do. So even if he's being bullied and hurt, physically and mentally, he still never retaliated, and he prayed for them. And we should pray just like what Jesus did. In fact, in our prayer, we could even say that verse. If we feel like we're being attacked by a lot of people personally, say a little prayer in your head and say, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." And let God's grace handle the situation. Follow those 5 golden rules and help and pray that God can help you and them, that they may stop and that you will be able to overcome it. So anytime you're getting cyberbullied, just recite that verse in your head. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Always better to act than react. Yep, I highly agree. I highly agree with that, Michael. I think the same concept applies in all situations when being attacked, even in real life. Yes, not just cyberbullying in anything. It's a good way to follow that Christian perspective and the scientific perspective too, in anything when it comes to bullying. So that wraps up today's agenda, but I'm more than happy to take questions for those that have any. Here we go. Back to your first point. What is the basis for saying that cyberbullying is mostly due to jealousy? What else can be the reasons? Okay. So social media is a very comparative platform. Especially, I'm just going to call it out here, Instagram is probably one of the most comparative social medias. It's because we're always trying to post this golden image of ourselves. When we see someone post something and they're having so much fun, they look like the perfect person, it makes us feel that we're not perfect. You know, you might look at an Instagram story and you say, "Man, look how much fun they're having without me." Or, you know, "Man, look how pretty this person looks. Look at their outfit. And I have horrible clothes at home. Look at their hair. My hair is terrible." It becomes a very comparative perspective. And I'm sure we've all had that feeling before of viewing someone else's post and feeling just a little bit of jealousy in there. And the more you keep looking, the more it feeds. When you keep on viewing many people, especially when you have many, many friends doing many different things, you feel like, "Man, I'm not doing anything. My life is boring." So that jealousy feeds the more you scroll because we find ourselves comparing to what those posts are. But like I said earlier, those posts aren't those people. The people who you see online are not the people who they are offline. But sometimes we forget that. We see someone online and we think, "Man, this guy's perfect. This guy has no flaws. I wish I was like that." So, yeah, the way I see it is social media is a very comparative platform. I hope that answered the question. What else can be the reasons? Um, the other reason is usually being offended when you see someone post something that might go against your belief. For example, you might see a gay couple posting, like a gay couple posting kissing, And if you believe that, if you have an issue with that and you think that, gay that gay would be those gays would be wrong because of our belief as Christianity, and you get offended by it, you might find yourself wanting to attack that person and write something hateful in the comment. You might even say, "This isn't what God created us to do, you monsters." That kind of thing is just an act of retaliation based on you being offended. So I'd say, other than jealousy, I would say it's mainly being offended about something you believe in. Are there any other questions? Remember, if you don't want to type in the chat, you can always just call me on Messenger. I'm on standby. The only downside is everyone else will hear you, but other than that, yeah. So I'll just keep an eye on the chat for a few minutes. If you guys have any feedback, by the way, of how this went, please let me know. It was like first time doing this kind of thing, so yeah. Here we go. Just a quick thing I read, that with social media, sometimes we are trying to get attention instead what we want to do is be attentive to the task at hand. With social media, sometimes we are trying to get attention instead what we want to do is being attentive to the task at hand. Yeah, I agree. Instead of just sort of seeking attention, you can also raise awareness. You can, instead of seeking the attention, send the attention out. Especially if you're, let's say you're at a charity event, you could send the attention out and actually help raise awareness of a lot of things, even small things like your own beliefs, even your own hobbies. You can send attention out to that to say, hey guys, check out this cool new hobby I found. It's a good way to send out attention too. It's quite a good point, Sarah. Sarah also said, is what we are posting the subject, I guess. If only we can give the attention or be attentive online about God, our faith. Yep, that's another thing as well. We can send out the awareness and we can send out attention of our faith. Something as simple as posting a picture of our icon status can be inspiring to someone else. It can change someone's life. Someone who never comes to church can see the beauty of the icons and say, man, I really want to go to church. It might not affect everyone, and sure, you might get some likes from friends, but someone out there could literally have their life changed just by you making a post like that. So yes, you can send out attention and raise awareness to these kind of things. I agree with you 100%, Sarah. Just before finishing, could Sarah update us on the plan, etc., for the next couple of weeks? Actually, a good idea here, Sarah, if you want people to hear you, because I'm sure you probably don't want to say all that over text. I could go into a call with Facebook Messenger, and then everyone can actually hear what you have to say, because I feel like that's quite a lot to type. Let's also pray at the end. Yeah, I agree. So we'll just see what Sarah has to say. Cool. I am just gonna pick that up. Okay, hi Sarah.
Oh, hi.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep, and everyone else should be able to hear you as well.
Can they?
Yep. the way I've set it up.
Okay. Why is it not live anymore on my own? Okay. Just an update, everyone. Next week, since we're going to be starting Passion Week, I think it's Palm Sunday. So there'd be like, what do you call them? Basra on that evening. So Buena will be posting things online for that. So that's why we're gonna just not have youth meeting next week for that purpose, because we'll be starting the Basra week. And then the week after that, so wait, I'll just bring up my calendar. So yeah, the 12th, no lesson because of Pascha week, and 19th will be Easter. So we have for Easter the events, the fun team, events team will be putting up posting up what they'll be doing on that day for us online. There'll be some social activity for us all to do online. So they'll be in charge of that, and yeah, it will be a fun day for us all to celebrate Easter. Otherwise, thank you so much, Freddy, for your talk.
No worries. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. Awesome. All right.
Okay, cool. So I'll probably just end things off with a quick prayer. Okay, so I'll just wrap things up. If there's any other questions quickly before we go, and if not, I'll be praying for us very quickly. I'll just wait maybe 10 seconds to make sure that there's nothing coming up. Alright, cool. Thanks, guys. Alright, so I'll just quickly say a prayer. Okay, so in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, Amen. Dear God, thank you for gathering us here today online, and please try to keep us all safe in this time of need, and help us to, stay close to one another and help each other out as much as we can. And please, Lord, help the situation going on all over the world. May it come to an end, hopefully, in the time that you see fit. And make us worthy to pray thankfully, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory forever. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Alright, guys, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe, everyone. Alright, see you.